Hello everyone, Sharanya PS here. Welcome back to the session. Now I will be discussing about call by value and call by reference and how we can pass the arrays to the function with example. Before moving to call by value and call by reference, first we should understand what is this actual and formal parameter. Actual parameters are the parameters which are present inside the function call, or in simple terms, the parameters passed to the function. These formal parameters are the parameters which is defined in the function definition and function declaration, or in simple terms, parameters which are received by a function. Now let us try to understand this with an example. We have defined this like this, that is add a comma b. This is nothing but what we call it as a function call. The function name is add. A comma b is the parameters that we can see here. As we define, this a and b are nothing but the actual parameters. That is the parameters which are present in the function call. We normally see these kind of function call in the main function. And the parameters which are present in the function definition. Here what we are seeing, that is add with the return type integer and int x comma int y. These are the parameters passed to the function add. This all we refer it as a function definition. Here x and y act as a formal parameters. In simple terms, x and y are the parameters which are received by the function add. The parameters which are passed we normally refer as a actual parameters. The same way even we will write it in the function definition. So, as a conclusion remark, here the actual parameters are the parameters which are present in function call. Formal parameters are the parameters which are present in function definition. Here, there is no restriction that the parameters which are present in the function definition should match to the function call. Here we have used a and b, and here you could see there is x and y. There is not necessary that we should use a and b itself, because when it is going to be processed, the values present in a and b is going to be copied into x and y. So it does not matter the kind of variable that you are using in the function definition. This is how the actual and the formal parameters are present in the functions. Now we'll see what are the different ways we can pass the arguments to the function. Arguments, or we say it as a parameters. That is, some values we want to pass it from one function to another. That we normally do it by referring to the variables. Here, the way these parameters are passed are classified into two types. One is pass by value and one more pass by reference. First, what is meant by pass by value? As the name indicates, somewhere it is connected to the value. This pass by value is also called as call by value. Here, the values of the actual parameters are copied to the formal parameters. I hope it is clear what is actual parameters and formal parameter. Just as a recall, actual parameters are the parameters which are present in function call. Nothing but normally, most of the times in the main function. And these formal parameters are present in function definition. So here, the values are getting copied and these two different parameters store the values in the different location. Here, in two different locations, these values will be getting copied and referred by two parameters. Now, let us take one example here to understand this pass by value or call by value and call by reference. The example that we refer here is swapping two numbers. Here there is one simple animation, that is what is the way the normal swapping process are done. Suppose if I want to swap between two values or two content, what we normally do, we will take one more container or temporary element. So the content of A is having blue color and B is having pink color. Now, in order to swap between these two, I will be using one temporary container where I will be copying this pink color to that, and then this content, whatever it is present in, will be stored in A. After that, the content present in C is copied back onto B. Or in simple terms, think that there are two variables A and B with the values 50 and 30. Now I want to swap between these two. What we can do? We can take temporary variable and copy this 50 to this, whatever it is present in this 30, I am going to copy onto the temporary. That is, here the content present in A is copied onto temp, and then the content present in B is copied onto A, and after that the content which I have temporarily copied content will be copied back onto B. This is how normally we will do the swapping of any given content or value. Same concept we are going to apply when we build a code here. That is, here we are using this program to demonstrate how this pass by a value is going to work. Here simple one function is written by the name swap, where the actual logic to swap between the two numbers is written. Now the execution will begin from the main. In the main, we have declared two variables with the values A equal to 10 and B equal to 20. And here there is a one statement written, values before exchanging are, which are those, that is A and B value. What it will print? 10 and 20 will be printed. Next, swap function is called. Swap A comma B. What is this A and B? A and B is nothing but actual parameters. Now, after that, the control, whenever it sees the statement like this, the control will be moved to the function definition. In the function definition, we have written void swap, and we have referred with the two parameters int m comma int n. What this m and n will take now? Values. These values, whatever present in swap A comma B, this A and B will be copied into m and n. And then there's major logic to perform the swapping process will be executed. That is, first we will take one temporary variable and we will store m content, whatever it is present in temp, and n content, whatever is present in, will be stored into m, and temp content will be copied back onto n. This is what we normally refer with. And finally, we are printing the values after exchange. My question now is, what is the value it is going to be printed? Is it 10 and 20 or 20 and 10? Now let us illustrate the same example with more diagrammatic way. This is the example for pass by value. That is, when the function is called, this value of this actual parameters are copied into formal parameters. Now when we refer with the variable A equal to 10 and B equal to 20, when we initialize with integer data type in the memory, this is how it will be stored. That is, with the A and B variable names, the values stored are 10 and 20, and it will contain some memory locations randomly like 1000, 1002, like this I have taken. Now it prints the statement values before exchanging are, that is 10 and 20 are printed. Now swap function is called. This is swap A comma B, nothing but A and B value we have 10 and 20. when this function is called like this, the value will be passed on to the formal parameter. That is, young will get the value 10 and n will get the value 20. That is, the values present in the actual parameters are getting copied onto formal parameter. Just the values are copied. Now, when we observe this, this is how it will be looking in the memory. Main point, here we are taking one more variable as a temp, and please observe we have, before that we have written here int m comma int n. That is, here it takes two new variables that we referred as a formal parameters m and n, and it takes the values 10 and 20 respectively. But one thing that we need to observe is it is a new variable and it is located in a new memory location. So, the memory location of this m and n is 1004 and 1006. This is what it happened with this respective statements. Next, after this, we have declared one temporary variable and it contains some memory location. Next statement is going to be executed as young temp equal to young. In simple terms, young value is copied onto temp. Young contains value 10, 10 is copied onto temp. Next, n is going to copied onto m. What is the value of n? That is 20. 20 is copied onto m. And next, temp value is copied back onto n. That is, 10 will be copied back onto n. So, the current m and n values are 20 and 10 respectively, that are present in the memory location 1006 and 1004. So, my question is, what is the statement once after execution of this swap function? The control will come back and it is going to execute values after exchanging R. My question is, what is the value it is going to be printed? That is, we are printing the values of A and B back onto the screen. So, what is the value of A and B? That is nothing but 10 and 20 only. The operation or the swapping process, what it is done in the function definition, it is not affected onto the variable A and B which are present in the memory location 1002 and 1000, because whatever the process it is done swapping, it is applicable only within this function. It's whatever we have defined int m and int n, its scope will be present within this function only, which is not affected onto the values of this A and B which are present in 1002 and 1000. Suppose if we try to print the values of m and n in this particular location, it will be printed as 20 and 10. And one more question it might be arising. Since there is a variable name difference, that is here it is m and n, that's why the value is not got changed. No, even if we use A and B also, it will not affect on the values present in the actual parameter. The values will be affected only to the formal parameters, because here we could observe that it is present in the separate memory location. This is what we call it as a pass by values. When we call the function, only the values are getting copied and all the operation whatever it is done which is affecting onto only within that function, which is not reflected back onto the other function. This is the concept of pass by value. When we call the function, only the values are getting copied and it will not affect onto the actual parameter. So, the output displayed are values before exchanging are 10 and 20. Values after exchanging are, once again it will print it as 10 and 20 itself. Now let us try to understand what is this pass by reference or call by reference. First thing, address of the variable is passed to the function during the function call. Here, rather than passing the value, here the address of the variable is passed during the function call. We'll try to understand it with example later. First, both formal and actual parameter refers to the same memory location. Here we cannot see two different memory location. Both actual and the formal parameters will be pointing to the same memory location. Therefore, if any changes is done to the formal parameters will get reflected onto the actual parameters as well, because it is pointing to the same memory location. So all those changes are going to be reflected continuously. And then here, instead of passing the value, mainly address will be passed. We'll see how we can pass the address now. 2 point majorly has to be clear here. The pass by reference, address of the variable is passed, and one more point, both the actual and the formal parameters are pointing to the same memory location. So changes done onto the formal parameter will not get reflected onto the actual parameter. Now coming to some other related topics with respect to this concept is, we have not come across with the pointer concept. So just as a which is relevant to this topic, I am discussing few points here. There is a one statement as int I equal to 3. So int is a data type here, I is a variable name, and I have set some value as 3. So I is the location name, value stored is 3, and it contains some location number. That is nothing but what we refer as a address normally. Next, here I have used j equal to address of I. What does it mean? J is nothing but a variable, integer variable, where it will store the address of I. What is the address as we discussed just now? That is nothing but 65524. So, what is the content of this J? J is containing the value 65524. This is the value of this address of this I. And what is the memory location of this J? J will contain some other memory location. But the content of J is nothing but the address of this I variable. So, in order to refer to the address, we are using one special operator that we call it as a address of operator. And here we use address of I, which will return the address of the variable I. Suppose if I mention address of A, then A variable's address will be returned. This is what we refer as address is nothing but 65524. And there is one more statement we normally use here as star j. And now the star refers to the value present in that address location. That is, suppose if I mention there is a j and it will contain the address. The value present in that location, if I want to refer, that is nothing but which is pointing to the variable I. If I want to refer the value present here, I need to make use of this star. In simple terms, it gives the value stored at that particular memory location. And this star we normally refer as an indirection operation, where it is used to store the address of an integer value. Here we are making use of this j. This is one base concept that we are trying to apply this swapping of two numbers by this base concept. Now, let us try to understand the same code that we have come across that is swapping of two numbers by using the function swap by passing the address or call by reference or pass by reference that we mention here. The function that we are using is void swap, and here you could see a one special symbol it is used is a star, that is nothing but pointer. Here m is nothing but, if I mention star m, here it refers to the value stored in the memory location in that we are referring by using star m. Here we are using the same way. I will discuss this aspect. Before that, we will see what is there in the void main. In the main, I have used two variables with the value 10 and 20 respectively. Next, there is a one statement, printf values before exchanging are a, b. And then here the swap function is called. One major difference with the pass by address or pass by reference or call by reference is we are passing the address of a variable rather than the value. That's why the function call will contain address operator when we write the parameters. That is, address of A refers to we are passing the address of the variable A when we call this function. So this, when we refer this, the address whatever present in address of A will be passed on to this particular formal parameter. Next, we will be printing value after exchanging R. Now let us try to understand this each statement in detail. This I will discuss this section as well. Now coming to the, after that we'll see what is the output, what we are observing there. Now in the main function there is a call A and B variable it is used, and it is having the value 10 and 20. This is how it will be stored in the memory location, that is with the address 1000 and 1002. Roughly I have taken some random numbers. Now next, after that we have called the function swap address of A and address of B. Now address of A is nothing but 1000 and address of B is nothing but 1002. As we referred here, address of A is 1000 and address of B is 1002. These two are the values which are passed along with the swap function. Now when it receives, that is void swap integer star m and integer star n. Since we are passing the address of a variable, in order to get the address, that is to receive the address, we have to make use of some special variable. That's why we are referring with the pointer variable. That is, we are interested with the, not with the address, the value present in that address we are interested. To refer to that, we are using here star operator. That is, any operation what I do here, I am not operating with respect to address. Rather than the value stored in that address will be performed. So that's why in order to refer to the value present in that location, I am using everywhere this star operator. That is, if we look into this major operation, void swap integer star m comma integer star n. So what does it mean? The star 100 means the value present in that 1000 location. That is nothing but what value is present in 1000? That is 10. In the same way, integer star n. N is nothing but actually it contains the, when we refer as a swap address of A and B is nothing but swap 1000 comma 1002. So here it contains address. Now when we refer integer star m, integer star 1000 and integer star 1002. It is nothing but the value stored in those locations. In simple terms, m and n is nothing but 10 and 20 itself. But which will contain the same memory location, that is 1000 and 1002 as it was present with A and B. Now, after this, the set of code which is used for swapping two numbers are going to be executed. That is value at the variable yum. That is that we are value stored in that yum that we refer by star yum is copied to the temporary variable, that is temp. Why we are not using star here? Because we are referring with a normal variable. We are not bothered about the value present in that because it is general variable that we are using. That's why star is not used. Next, after this, the content present in star n, that is the value, whatever it is present, is copied in this value, whichever it is present in that address of this m. And finally, the value present in temp is copied back onto this star address of this variable n. That's why we refer it as star n. This is how the swapping will be done. Now the question is, after this swapping process, what will be the output? It is going to print A equal to %t and B equal to %t. What is the output? The swapping process is done by referring to the formal parameters m and n. But here, since the address of these variables A and B is passed, that is nothing but what we call it as the actual parameters. The changes, whatever it is done in the formal parameters, is directly going to be applied onto the actual parameter. That's why these A's and B's values are exchanged, and now the value will be A equal to 20 and B equal to 10. If we summarize with the simple code, this is how it with the output that we could see for this program. That is, values before exchange are 10, 10 and 20. And after this swap operation, since we pass the address of this A and B, whatever the changes it is done inside the function is going to be affected onto A and B, since it shares the same memory location. So it prints values after exchanging are 20, 10. If we look into the example here, the same thing what I have discussed now with one general example I am discussing. Here A and B, it is a summarized way. A and B having the value 10 and 20 with the values memory location 1000 and 1002. When I refer address of A and address of B, I am passing these two address. And the function swap will be called when we call this way. And now whenever it refers to this, it copies the whatever we referred as 1000, it is present in M, and whatever it is present in B, nothing but 1002 is copied in the M and N. And this M and N will contain the separate memory location. That is not a big deal. Now, this M is nothing but which is, since we referred star M, it is pointing to the value stored in 1000 location. That is nothing but 10. And once again, we have referred it as a star n, so it is pointing to the value stored in 1002 location. That is nothing but 20. And then it performs a swap operation. So what is the difference between pass by value and pass by reference? First and foremost, here the copy of the actual parameter is passed into formal parameters in call by value. That is, it just copies the actual parameters to formal parameter. Whereas call by reference, the reference or the address of these actual parameters are passed into formal parameter. And the changes in the formal parameters will not result in changes in actual parameters in call by value. Whereas, since we have passed the address, all the changes that it is done in the formal parameters will completely reflect onto actual parameters. And here, separate memory location is allocated for actual and the formal parameters. Whereas here, same memory location is allocated for both actual and the formal parameters. If we look into one simple animation here, in the pass by reference, here whatever the changes done, here it is going to be reflected onto the formal parameters. Whereas in the pass by value, the changes can be observed only in the formal parameter, not in the actual parameter. This is what the pass by value and pass by reference. Very important concept. Next, coming to the next topic, passing the arrays to the function. We have already discussed what is arrays and function. Just we are combining these two concepts together. That is, to pass one-dimensional array to a function, we need to make some arrangement. That is, first list the name of the array and without any subscript, and the size of the array as an argument is also need to be passed. Next, what are the rules to pass an array to a function? First, the function must be called by passing only the name of the array, and in the function definition, the formal parameters must be an array type with the size of the array does not need to be specified. And the function prototype must show the arguments in an array. Now let us try to understand rather than just reading as with the program. First, here the question: to implement a program to read and display the array elements using the function. What is a program? We have already come across this concept with the arrays, just to read and display the array elements. Only difference is we have to write the separate function. Here I have defined one function as a read. It does not return anything, that's why it is having the void. And it takes two arguments, which are those. One is array and one more the size of the array. These two are of a data type integer. And this is array how we are defining. And it is not necessary to mention any size here, because we are specifying the size separately as a argument. And we are using one looping variable I, and we are taking enter the elements into array, that is n value is taken. And the normal way how we are reading the elements from the user for an array, that is address of a of I. For n is whatever it is given, for that we have to keep repeatedly reading one by one element. Next, this is the function which is used to display the elements. That is just one difference is instead of scanf, here we have used the printf. Next, in the main what we are doing, we are entering the number of elements, we are taking the number, and then we are reading to calling functions read and display. With what values? With the array as well as the size of the array, that is a comma n. So what we have written here, it should match to this particular function definition, and display need to be matched to this function definition. That is, here we have used a and n. A is nothing but array, that's why we have to define int a, and here we have to differentiate that it is an array. Size need not to be mentioned. And n is nothing but which is of a data type integer, and it is n is nothing but the number of parameters. This is how the function call and the function definition parameters should match. And finally it will print the output, that is enter the number of elements, and it takes how many elements? 5 elements from the user, and array elements are displayed onto the output screen. The same way, one more array program to find the sum of array elements using the function. We have already discussed finding the sum of normal array. Now we'll discuss the program by using the function. Here it takes the number of elements. It reads the how many elements sum we have to calculate. So it is stored in the variable n. And next we have to take one by one element from the user. That is enter the elements. And we are reading the elements one by one from the user. That is reading. And then we are calling the function add. a comma n. And the result, whatever we have calculated, the sum will be stored in the variable sum and we are printing. What is this? A and n? A is nothing but array and n is the size of the array. And in the add function, the major logic to perform the sum of all the numbers is written. That is, initially sum will be 0 and I will begin with 0 and I is less than n, I plus plus. And it computes the sum as sum equal to sum plus a of I. That is, sum initially will be 0. Say for example, a of 0, it is referred with respect to index. That is, suppose if the user has entered 3 elements 0, 1 and 2. Let us take like this. So, it is present in the index 0 and it is present in index 2 and it is present in the index 2. Let me take this as 11 so that you can differentiate between the index and value. Now, in the starting from 0th location, it needs to start computing the sum. Sum plus a of 0. What is present? It is nothing but 0. And then here after this, I is getting incremented. Now I will be 1. After that it computes. Now the sum is nothing but 0. 0 plus a of 1. It is nothing but 11. It will be computed as 11. And next, the I will increment. Now I will be equivalent to 3. 3 is less than 3. N value is nothing but 2. I value is got incremented now. I value will be 1, 2. 2 is less than 3. Yes, correct. Condition is true. And it computes the 11 plus sum was previously 11 and now it is added with the 2 and it will be 13. And now it checks what is the I value now 4. 4 is less than 3. No, condition is false and it is written in the sum value. What is the sum value? 13. That's why we have used the int as a argument return type, because we are returning the sum back onto the main function. And as a standard way, we have taken two arguments, array name and the the size of the array. The sum is written back. So whatever we have computed as 13, it is returned to the main function. So it prints sum of %t elements are n, sum. So here as a example, here it taken as a 5 as elements, number of elements, and it asks the user to enter 5 elements. And it computes the sum of all the 5 elements and prints onto the output screen. Only simple variation here is the way we have to pass the array. And is it necessary to pass array? Yes, it is a good way. We can particularly mention to which array we are referring. That's why this is way how pass by value with arguments. Even we can refer without passing the arguments, as we discussed as a one type of the function. Next, write a C program to find the largest of n given number using functions. Thus, here we have written one function big, and we are passing array and the size of the array, and we are taking the n value and we are reading the array, and the function is called big a, n, and then we are storing it in a variable large, the biggest element. And in the logic, we are considering initially the first array element as the maximum element or the largest element, and then we are keep checking each element. Is that element is greater than maximum? If it is so, then we are resetting this max to that particular array content. So how the logic is written, I is starting with 1, I is less than n, I plus plus. And the condition here if is written because we have to check. Initially we have set max equal to a of 0. And each element we need to check whether it is greater than max. If so, then we are setting this max is equal to a of i's content. That is a of index content, that is any array's content we will be referring by using the index, that is A of I. After that, after computation of everything, it is returning this max value so that we could able to find which is the largest element in the given array. If we look into the example here, the value entered is 5 and it takes these many elements from the user. And initially this 10 will be considered as the maximum element. Then after that I value will be equal to 1 and then it keeps checking 10 is greater than 10, no, and the 10 is greater than 4, yes, and then here 4 is greater than 2, 4 is greater than 10, no, condition is false. 6 is greater than 10, no, condition is false. 2 is greater than 10, no, condition is false. Finally, it checks 20 is greater than 10, yes, condition is true. So, it will set max equal to A of ith location, that is content is 20 with the I value is equal to 5. So, now finally the max value whatever it is present will be written back onto the mains function. Next, write a C program to sort n integer element using the function. We have discussed already the bubble sort logic. Same logic we have written within the function called as sort. And what is the argument it will take or the parameter? One is the array and one more the size of the array. And it does not return anything. Just we have written it as a void. In the main function we are calling the sort. That is, I am not going to discuss once again the logic of this bubble sort. We have already discussed. That is, each element by element we are going to check which is the largest, and we will keep popping it up and we are making the array in the increasing order. That is nothing but sort. Enter the number of elements we are taking as from the user, and we are reading the elements from the user. For that we have written this loop and then we are displaying that unsorted arrays, and then we are calling the sort function. Normally we were writing the program logic, that is sort logic, within that location. Now we have written it as in a separate function and we are calling that function by using that name and passing this array as well as size of this entered by the element, that is size of the array which is entered by the user. And then finally we are printing back whatever the sorted element is present here, whichever it is present now in A and N, that we are printing back onto the output screen. That is sorted array is, that is present in the array A. So this is how we will get the output. Enter the number of element is 5. It is taking the elements, 5 elements, and then it prints unsorted array first, and then the sort function will be called and it will perform the sorting technique by using bubble sort, and then finally it will print the sorted array back onto the output screen. This is what we are discussed under module 4, which covers all the concepts under module 4. Here we majorly looked into functions, different elements present in function, and different types of the functions. These are very important concepts, and different kinds of questions like what is function and with elements and with the different types you need to explain with example. And then we have looked on to very important concept recursion, and we discussed some of the example program under that. And finally in this video I have discussed call by value and call by reference. Many interview questions are asked based on this call by value and call by reference. And finally we have looked into how we can pass these arrays to the function. These are the different topics that we have discussed in module 4. And thank you for listening.